Welcome back, warrior. So, I have to tell you that I am getting really sleepy and really tired. When it's that time of the month, it just happens more. Anyways, so then I was like, okay, I'll go eat some breakfast. So I had some breakfast. And now I was like, I need chocolate. Because I always do. I always do. Anyway, here's what my Dove chocolate just told me. Okay. I'm gonna see if I can show it to you here. It says, let's see, it says, don't be afraid to start a new chapter. Isn't that amazing? Don't be afraid to start a new chapter. So here we go. We're starting out with chapter 56. Okay. We just finished Alma chapter 55, and we're not being afraid to start a new chapter. So here we go. Gotta love Dove for bringing it back home to us. Okay. So chapter 56 says, let's put this broken glasses back on. Helaman sends an epistle to Moroni recounting the state of the war with the Lamanites. Antipas and Helaman gain a great victory over the Lamanites. Helaman's 2,000 stripling sons fight with miraculous power, and none of them are slain. Oh, I'm loving this story already. Okay. Oh, I'm running out of water. I know all you health peeps are probably like, she needs this for energy. She needs this for energy. If you're a health enthusiast, I just need to go take a nap is what I need. I woke up a little bit earlier than I'd want to today because I was taking peeps to activities and soccer. But anyways, here we go. Now it came to pass in the commencement of the 13th year of the reign of the judges, on the second day of in the first month. Okay, I'm struggling already. Moroni received an epistle from Helaman, stating the affairs of the people in that quarter of the land. Okay, so now Helaman's writing a little something to Moroni. The runners / people who would take letters to each other were like so important, you know? And these are the words which he wrote, saying, my dearly beloved brother Moroni, as well in the Lord as in the tribulations of our warfare. Behold, that's why I call you warrior sisters, because you're my sister in the Lord, and you're my sister in the tribulations of our warfare that we have against Satan, right? Anyways, I love that. Behold, my beloved brother, I have somewhat to tell you concerning our warfare in this part of the land. Behold, 2,000 of the sons of those men whom Ammon brought down out of the land of Nephi. Now you have known that these were descendants of Laman, who was the eldest son of our father Lehi. So I'm confused, but it's fine. We're going to keep going. Now I need not rehearse unto you concerning their traditions or their unbelief, for thou knowest concerning all these things. Therefore it sufficeth me to tell me that I tell you that 2,000 of these young men have taken their weapons of war, and would that I should be their leader, and we have come forth to defend our country. Okay, so yes, remember that those were peeps who, let's see, the 2,000 sons of men who Ammon brought down out of the land of Nephi. Okay, yep. Okay, therefore it sufficeth, I already did that. Verse 6. And now ye also know concerning the covenant which their fathers made, that they would not take up their weapons of war against their brethren to shed blood. But in the 26th year, when they saw our afflictions and our tribulations for them, so this is like 3 to 4 years beforehand, they were about to break the covenant which they had made and take up their weapons of war in our defense. But I would not suffer them that they should break this covenant which they had made, supposing that God would strengthen us insomuch that we should not suffer more because of the fulfilling the oath which they had taken. And behold, here is one thing in which we may have great joy. For behold, in the 26th year, I, Helaman, did march at the head of these 2,000 young men in the city of Judea to assist Antipas, whom ye had appointed a leader over the people of that part of the land. And I did join my 2,000 sons, for they are worthy to be called sons, to the army of Antipas, in which strength Antipas did rejoice exceedingly, for behold, his army had been reduced by the Lamanites, because their forces had slain a vast number of our men, for which cause we have to mourn. Oh, something. So this is 3 to 4 years before, like earlier. So this, I never realized this, but this is a story that Helaman is recounting of the 2,000 young men. Okay. Nevertheless, verse 11, we may console ourselves in this point, that they have died in the cause of their country and of their God, yea, and that they are happy. Okay. So just like a little redheaded hostess recap. At the beginning, so this war had been going on for many years. It has been 11 years since Amalickiah first sent the Lamanites to fight the Nephites, and it had been 5 years since the Lamanites had started gaining possession of Nephite cities. So it had been 5 straight years of continual battles, intrigues, mending and building of fortifications, supporting the armies and prisoners, and of supporting families without fathers and brothers. Ugh. At the beginning of the 30th year of the reign of the judges, around 62 BC, Laman wrote a letter to Moroni. Just kidding. Helaman wrote a letter. Oh, I need to make sure that this is recording. Helaman wrote a letter to Moroni. Helaman was on the western side of the nation fighting Lamanite battles, there where Moroni was on the eastern side. This letter will last from Helaman 56 to 58 and will give an account to Moroni concerning what Helaman had witnessed over the past few years. Oh, that's cool. I never realized that. So Helaman was writing to tell the account of the 2,000 sons of the people of Ammon. We will learn how stretched thin the armies were on that side of the nation and how desperately they were in need of reinforcements. The people of Ammon were full of experienced warriors, and they were seeing the circumstances and were about to break their covenant, which they had made to take up the weapons. You remember that. Helaman convinced the fathers not to break the oath. Instead, the 2,000 sons took up their weapons and asked Helaman to be their leader. The faith of these 2,000 sons was revealed by their choice of whom they wanted to be their leader. They wanted the prophet to lead them. This was Alma, the younger son, Helaman, and he was marching at the head of these sons to the city of Judea. Did you get chills? I got chills. Okay. We're on verse 12. Okay, so a little bit more. Actually, we're going to read till verse 17. Okay, so verse 12. And the Lamanites had also retained many prisoners, all of whom are chief captains, for none other have they spared alive. And we suppose that they are now at this time in the land of Nephi. It is so if they are not slain. And now these are the cities of which the Lamanites have obtained possession by the shedding of the blood of so many of our valiant men. The land of Manti, or the city of Manti, and the city of Zeezrom, and the city of Cumeni, and the city of Antipara. So those are the 4 captured cities, still because they took over 2, remember? And these are the cities which they had possessed when I arrived at the city of Judea, and I found Antipas and his men toiling with their might to fortify the city. Yea, and they were depressed in body as well as in spirit, for they had fought valiantly by day and toiled by night to maintain their cities, and thus they had suffered great afflictions of every kind. Okay, so they needed some relief. Okay, verse 17 is, and then we'll read what Redheaded Hostess has to say. And now they were determined to conquer in this place or die. Therefore, you may well suppose that this little force which I brought with me, yea, those sons of mine, gave them great hopes and much joy. Okay. So it says, Judea was where Antipas, a Nephite commander, had his army, and they were in desperate need of help. Many of his men had been slain in battle or taken as prisoners. Notice in verse 12 that the Lamanites were only keeping chief captains as prisoners and killing all the other soldiers they captured. Oh, That's sad. How did I not read that? I totally missed it in the reading. The Lamanites, so that's why I love like the study guide, because it really helps to like point things out if I miss it, right? Notice in verse 12 that the Lamanites were only keeping, oh yeah, the Lamanites are much more brutal in their methods. This was not how Moroni did things. Helaman explained what cities had been captured at this time: the cities of Manti, Zeezrom, Cumeni, and Antipara. 4 cities in addition to the 7 cities the Lamanites had captured on the east side of the nation. No. Okay, so that was not what I said. I said it was just 4 cities left from the 6, but apparently this is more. So that is a total of 11 cities. So the Nephites were in real trouble of being conquered by a wicked nation. No wonder the Ammonite fathers desperately wanted to help. The Nephites were in an alarming and dangerous position. When they arrived to Judea, they found Antipas and his men toiling with their might to fortify the city. Yea, and they were depressed in body as well as in spirit. They had been fighting all day, all night. They were repairing their fortifications. They had lost many fellow soldiers. They were losing cities, and they were away from their families. Imagine how they must have felt as Helaman and his 2,000 soldiers arrived, right? That would have been awesome. Verse 16 and 17 are important verses. These soldiers were tired, but they were not defeated. Verse 16 explains they were depressed in body and in spirit. And of course they were. That was a hard thing that they were doing in every way, right? But verse 17 says, and now they were determined to conquer in this place or die. Even though they were depressed, which literally means to press down, they were still extremely committed. The difficulty of the situation and how they felt did not affect their determination. Elder Jeffrey R. Holland said this of the spiritual battle we are in. Okay. Quote, when difficult times come upon us, or when temptation seems all around, we will be, are we now? Wait, will we? Let me reread that. Okay. Quote, when difficult times come upon us, or when temptation seems all around, will we be, are we now prepared to stand our ground and outlast the intruder? Are we equipped to combat, to stay loyal for as long as it takes, to stay true for the duration of the war? Can we hold fast to the principles and the people who truly matter eternally to us? The war is on, and we have conspicuously enlisted. And certainly it is a war worth waging. But we are foolish, fatally foolish, if we believe it will be a casual or convenient thing. We are foolish if we think it will demand nothing of us. More is expected than that. Much more is needed. And in a very real sense, eternity hangs in the balance. I truly believe there can be no casual Christians, for if we are not watchful and resolute, we will become, in the heat of battle, a Christian casualty. End quote. That's crazy intense. I don't want to be a Christian casualty. Sounds awful. Okay, Elder Jeffrey R. Holland, BYU Speeches, January 13th, 1987. Okay, I don't know if I read that correctly, the beginning part of that quote, so maybe you need to go watch that BYU speech and see how Elder Jeffrey R. Holland actually said it. Okay, verse 18. And now it came to pass that when the Lamanites saw that Antipas had received a greater strength to his army, they were compelled by the orders of Ammoron to not come against the city of Judea or against us to battle. Thus were we favored of the Lord, for had they come upon us in our weakness, they might have perhaps destroyed our little army, but thus were we preserved. Ooh, nice. So he's like so glad that they didn't come upon him. Okay, and they were commanded by Ammoron to maintain those cities which they had taken. And thus ended the 26th year. And in the commencement of the 27th year, we had prepared our city and ourselves for defense. Now we are desirous that the Lamanites should come upon us, for we were not desirous to make an attack upon them in their strongholds. Okay, so so that would have been like, they don't want to attack their cities, because honestly, those are the Nephite cities that they strengthened anyway. So Helaman knows that if we go attack our city, we're going to lose because we really built that city up, you know? And so they were waiting for them to leave their places of security, their strongholds, so that they could attack, because then they'd have more advantage, which is a great tactic, to wait for the enemy to come out and meet them. So what are Satan's strongholds, right? What can we say are Satan's strongholds? Okay, verse 22, and it came to pass that we kept spies, or constant watch, out round about to watch the movements of the Lamanites, that they might not pass us by night nor by day to make an attack upon our other cities which were on the northward. For we knew in those cities they were not sufficiently strong to meet them. Therefore we were desirous, if they should pass by us, to fall upon them in their rear, and thus bring them up in the rear at the same time they were met in the front. We supposed that we could overpower them, but behold, we were disappointed in this our desire. So that's just one strategy, right? And the enemy has good strategies too. They durst not pass by us with their whole army, neither durst they with a part, lest they should not be sufficiently strong and they should fall. Yes. Okay, awesome. Okay, let me read these 2 verses, because then I'll remember where I'm at easier. Okay, neither durst they march down against the city of Zarahemla, neither durst they cross the head of Sidon over to the city of Nephihah. And thus with their forces they were determined to maintain those cities which they had taken. Okay, so we're on verse 26, and we just have one little section to read here. When the Lamanites saw the Nephites had been strengthened, they pulled back and focused on maintaining their own cities. This was a great blessing, because they had experienced Lamanites come upon them. They might have perhaps destroyed our little army. These were brand new soldiers, totally inexperienced in battle. Had the Lamanites come, those young boys could have been easily defeated, but they did not come. So instead, Helaman and his army prepared our city and ourselves. Okay, I'm almost done right here. I'm just reading this last paragraph, okay? Can you imagine what they might have done to prepare themselves? What kind of drills and lessons might these boys have received? How many soldiers might have railed around them to teach them and show them how to be a warrior in all types of battle scenarios? This is what you do if this happens, and this is what you do if this happens. And this is, and if you do this, you get this. And if, you know, at what point did these boys feel prepared? And at what point did Helaman feel that these boys were ready? Also, something else to note is their fathers were amazing warriors, and not one of them got trained, because what did their fathers do? They buried their weapons, and so they never trained their sons. So these kids are like not knowing how to fight at all. It's like from scratch. So I just think that that's awesome, that they were still really willing to fight. And I bet that their dads always shared their story with them, just like the way Alma shares his story of conversion. I bet their fathers shared stories of conversion with them. And so I bet, like, you know, you just want to learn from each one of these warriors, and like what their story was, how old they were, and all these things. You just want all these details, right? So I'm just inventing stuff, but I'm like, I wonder, like, if some of their dads would have told them some of the ways that they fought and stuff, and like they were, because, you know, even though it was wicked for them to have bloodlust, I'm sure that at some point they didn't have bloodlust, and they were actually like learning and training and being warriors, right? And protecting themselves. Like I think Satan turns those things that are our passions and our skills and our the things that we love into addictions, or into things that are bad for us. Because just like the Lord can make weak things strong unto us, Satan can turn our strengths into weaknesses. And so if we allow him to, right? And so I feel like they probably talked about it a lot, you know, maybe at dinner time. Maybe they're telling them like, hey, we fought this battle, and, you know, we were trying to stay alive on this time, and it wasn't because we were just trying to destroy people, and we weren't just trying to do it because we're selfish. And, you know, I genuinely believe that people really do try, like, wake up and try to do good and be good. And so anyways, I'm imagining some of those Lamanites that were converted to, like, that acted like that, you know. So anyway, okay, I'm gonna go get some lunch for this little miss. Okay, so verses 21 to 26 recap. At the beginning of the 27th year, they were ready for battle. They were smart about how to go against the Lamanites and knew they needed to lure them out of the city, for they were not desirous to make an attack upon them in their strongholds, right? And a stronghold, they say, is a place that is fortified or prepared for an attack. As families, we could ask ourselves, what are Satan's strongholds? Helaman did not take his army right up to the city where the Lamanites would have their fortifications to protect them. Their goal was not to kill the Lamanites, but to retake their cities and protect other cities. This would all take a lot of strategy. And then notice in verse 23 that the Nephite army wanted the Lamanite army to come out so they could come upon them from the front and rear, but they durst not pass by us. Because the enemy also knows good strategies, right? But remember what we learned is that the enemy knows good strategies because he's old. Hey! Okay, verse 27. And now it came to pass, in the 2nd month of this year, there was brought unto us many provisions from the fathers of those my 2,000 sons. And also there were sent 2,000 men unto us from the land of Zarahemla. And thus we were prepared with 10,000 men and provisions for them, and also for their wives and their children. And the Lamanites, thus seeing our forces increase daily, and provisions arrive for our support, they began to be fearful and began to sally forth, if they were possible, to put an end to our receiving provisions and strength. Now, when we saw that the Lamanites began to grow uneasy on this wise, we were desirous to bring a stratagem into effect upon them. Therefore Antipas ordered that I should march forth with my little sons to a neighboring city, as if we were carrying provisions to a neighboring city. So this is another strategy. And we were to march near the city of Antipara, as if we were going to the city beyond, in the borders of by the seashore. So this was a city the Lamanites had captured. And it came to pass that we did march forth as if with our provisions to go to that city. And it came to pass that Antipas did march forth with a part of his army, leaving the remainder to maintain the city. But he did not march forth until I had gone forth with my little army and came near the city Antipara. And now in the city Antipara we stationed the strongest army of the Lamanites, yea, the most numerous. And it came to pass that when they had been informed by their spies, they came forth with their army and marched against us. And it came to pass that we did flee before them northward, and thus we did lead away the most powerful army of the Lamanites. Yea, even to a considerable distance, insomuch, it got dark, that when they saw the army of Antipas pursuing them with their might, they did not turn to the right nor the left, but pursued their march in a straight course after us. And as we suppose it was their intent to slay us before Antipas should overtake them, and this, that they might not be surrounded by our people. And now Antipas, beholding our danger, did speed the march of his army. But behold, it was night. Therefore they did not overtake us, neither did Antipas overtake them. Therefore we did camp for the night. So that's the first night, or the first day. Day 2. And it came to pass that before they... I did not recap. Okay, so some more Nephite soldiers were sent forth from Zarahemla. So now between the new men, Antipas's men, and stripling warriors, there were 10,000 men. Okay, Antipas then came up with a plan to lure the Lamanites out away from their strongholds. So that's where we're at. Okay. Day 2. And it came to pass that before the dawn of the morning, behold, the Lamanites were pursuing us. Now we were not sufficiently strong to contend with them. Yea, I would not suffer that my little sons should fall into their hands. Therefore we did continue our march, and we took our march into the wilderness. Okay. And now, what was that? Oh, I was like, is that a bug? No, that's just that right there is just our little metal tack. Okay, here we go. And it came to pass that before the dawn of, I just said that, and continue march, we did take our march into the wilderness. Okay, now they durst not turn to the right nor to the left, lest they should be surrounded. Neither would I turn to the right nor to the left, lest they should overtake me, and we could not stand against them, but be slain, and they would make their escape. And thus we did flee all that day into the wilderness, even until it was dark. Okay, so now day 3, coming up on day 3. And it came to pass that again, when the light of the morning came, we saw the Lamanites upon us, and we did flee before them. But it came to pass that they did not pursue us far before they halted, and it was in the morning of the 3rd day of the 7th month. Okay, and now, so it's July 7th, or July 3rd, huh? And now, whether they were overtaken by Antipas, we know not. But I said unto my men, behold, we know not, but they have halted for the purpose that we should come against them, that they might catch us in their snare. Therefore, what say ye, my sons? Will ye go against them to battle? And now I say unto you, my beloved brother Moroni, that never had I seen so great courage, nay, not amongst all the Nephites, right? We're still in Helaman's letter. And, here we go. For as I had ever called them my sons, for they were all of them very young, even so they said unto me, Father, behold, our God is with us, and he will not suffer that we should fall. Then let us go forth. We would not slay our brethren if they would let us alone. Therefore, let us go, lest they should overpower the army of Antipas. Now, they never had fought, yet they did not fear death, and they did think more upon the liberty of their fathers than they did upon their lives. Yea, they had been taught by their mothers that if they did not doubt, God would deliver them. Love the mothers. And it came to pass that I did, did deliver them. 48. And they rehearsed unto me the words of their mothers, saying, we do not doubt, our mothers knew it. And it came to pass that I did return with my 2,000 against these Lamanites who had pursued us. And now behold, the armies of Antipas had overtaken them, and a terrible battle had commenced. The army of Antipas, being weary because of their long march in so short a space of time, were about to fall into the hands of the Lamanites. And had I not returned with my 2,000, they would have obtained their purpose. For Antipas had fallen by the sword, and many of his leaders, because of their weariness, which was occasioned by the speed of their march. Therefore the men of Antipas, being confused because of the fall of their leaders, began to give way before the Lamanites. And it came to pass that the Lamanites took courage and began to pursue them. And thus were the Lamanites pursuing them with great vigor, when Helaman came upon their rear with his 2,000, and began to slay them exceedingly, insomuch that the whole army of the Lamanites halted and turned upon Helaman. Now when the people of Antipas saw that the Lamanites had turned them about, they gathered together their men and came again upon the rear of the Lamanites. And now it came to pass that we, the people of Nephi, the people of Antipas, and I, with my 2,000, did surround the Lamanites, and did slay them, yea, insomuch that they were compelled to deliver up their weapons of war, and also themselves as prisoners of war. And now it came to pass that when they had surrendered themselves up unto us, behold, I numbered those young men who had fought with me, fearing lest there were many of them slain. But behold, to my great joy, there had not one soul of them fallen to the earth. Yea, and they had fought as if with the strength of God. Yea, never were men known to have fought with such miraculous strength, and with such mighty power did they fall upon the Lamanites, that they did frighten them. And for this cause did the Lamanites deliver themselves up as prisoners of war. Wow. And as we had no place for our prisoners that we could guard them, to keep them from the armies of the Lamanites, therefore we sent them to the land of Zarahemla, and a part of those men who were not slain of Antipas with them, and a remainder I took and joined them to my stripling Ammonites, and took our march back to the city of Judea. So Helaman's army grows because of the Ammonites, or because of the Lamanites that they took with them. And isn't that just amazing? Amazing. So, let's read some Redheaded Hostess recaps here. So, okay, so let's see. Day 3, again, the next morning, the Lamanites were coming up upon the 2,000. So again they fled, but it was not long before the Lamanites were no longer following them, and Helaman and his army did not know why. They wondered if Antipas had awakened early and caught up to the Lamanites, or if the Lamanites were hoping that the 2,000 would think that turn around and be caught by a surprise attack. Either way, Helaman knew it was time to battle, and it would be their first battle. Helaman did not just command them to turn around. He asked them, "Will ye go to battle?" And they did. They wanted to go. They did not want to keep running. They did not want to wait a little longer, and they did not want to send some spies to see what was going on. They said, "Father, behold, our God is with us, and he will not suffer that we should fall. Then let us go forth, lest they should overpower the army of Antipas." If the Lamanites were fighting with Antipas, then they knew they needed to get there and help. And these 2,000 warriors were in the most dangerous circumstances. They were now going to walk towards the enemy, and they knew that they were going to end up in battle, because there was no way the Lamanites could have just decided to go home, because Antipas was on the other side. Before Helaman told Moroni about what happened in the battle, he wrote about what these boys were like as they walked toward the fight. They never had fought, yet they did not fear death. And in that moment, they were thinking of their parents. They were thinking upon the liberty of their fathers. They were standing in their place and fighting for their fathers' rights and freedoms, because they mattered more than their own lives to them. And they thought on their mothers and the words their mothers had taught them. That if they did not doubt, God would deliver them. And as they walked towards the Lamanites and their swords, their mother's words rung through their minds and gave them faith and courage. And it was not just their words, but their mother's testimonies. "We did not doubt," our mothers knew it. These mothers had to say goodbye to their sons when they left for battle, and these boys saw the faith of their mothers. They heard their prayers, they heard what promises their mothers rehearsed to them, and now those were promises were giving them strength and courage. And that's what us mothers always want, right? Sister Julie B. Beck spoke of this scripture and spoke of us to become mothers who knew and mothers who know. Okay, so Sister Julie B. Beck, here we go. Quote, who will prepare this righteous generation of sons and daughters? Latter-day Saint women will do this. Women who know and love the Lord and bear testimony of him. Women who are strong and immovable and who do not give up during difficult and discouraging times. We are led by an inspired prophet of God who has called upon the women of the church to stand strong and immovable for that which is correct and proper under the plan of the Lord. He has asked us to begin in our own homes to teach the children the ways of truth. Latter-day Saint women should be the very best in the world at upholding, nurturing, and protecting families. I have every confidence that our women will do this and will come to be known as mothers who knew. End quote. Ooh, awesome. Julie B. Beck, General Conference, October 2007. Okay, and then the word stripling means, yesterday my husband and I were talking about what the word stripling means, and it just means young and immature. So these were 2,000 young and immature children, probably between the ages of like 12 and 18, and they were going to fight. And isn't that just crazy? I said 16, but I was thinking if they were so shocked that they were so young, they had to even be younger than that. When they had arrived, they came upon the Lamanites with such miraculous strength and with such mighty power that they did frighten them. Those boys who had never fought and who were fighting experienced warriors came in with such strength, faith, and vigilance that the whole Lamanite army halted and turned upon Helaman. Just imagine that. Imagine how that must have looked. They didn't come in slowly. They didn't hide. They didn't test the waters first. They just came in with such force and impressive strength that the Lamanites ended up delivering up their weapons. The war was over, but there had been a terrible battle, and Helaman numbered his men and found that not one of them had fallen. Imagine when their parents received this battle report. Not one of them had fallen. What would that moment look like for those parents, you know? They would have been so excited. Okay, Read It, Live It says, actually, I need to charge my phone because it is dying. And I still have a little bit left because this is one of the great chapters. Okay, so we are now upstairs. And we let the phone charge for 3 seconds. So we're thinking we're almost good. And yep, we're in the bathroom. Because this is where I keep my charger. Okay, so a couple quotes really quick. Says, imagine that these experienced young men were so spiritually and physically prepared and so powerful that they frightened their foes into surrendering. You know, that crazy look in their eye? That was from from Elder M. Russell Ballard, October 2002 General Conference, right? You don't want those crazy kids coming up on you, you know? And then, then President Ezra Taft Benson said this, quote, "You are to be the royal army of the Lord in the last days. You are the youth of the noble birthright. In the spiritual battles you are waging." Let's see if I can hold this up. "In the spiritual battles you are waging, I see you as today's sons of Helaman. Remember well the Book of Mormon account of Helaman's 2,000 stripling warriors and how the teachings of their mothers gave them strength and faith. These marvelous mothers taught them to put on the whole armor of God, to place their trust in the Lord, and to doubt not. By so doing, not one of these young men was lost." Oh, I love that. President Ezra Taft Benson, April 1986 General Conference. Okay, and then there's another quote that I can't remember, but I did say it earlier in one of my scripture readings, and it was the story of the mother who was promised that if she read the Book of Mormon to her kids, that none of them would be lost. That was a promise from a prophet, and I love that so much that she was like, fine. She's like, if they won't read the Book of Mormon, I'm going to read it to them. And they weren't lost. And I love so much that she was so faithful, you know, in keeping that promise so that she could have the blessings from that promise. Okay, so the Read It, Live It for today now is right here. And it covers both Alma 55 and Alma 56. And here it is. It says, 2 things were more important to the stripling warriors than their lives. Remembering the liberty of their covenant-keeping fathers, so that was 1. And then never doubting the counsel of their faith-filled mothers, that was 2. I love that so much. Be covenant-keeping and faith-filled. Love that so much, yes. All right. Until Alma chapter 57, stay strong, warrior. Stay faith-filled and covenant-keeping.